Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, welcome to module 6. So, today is the first lecture of module 6, which is mostly on metals and particularly ferrous and non-ferrous metals which are used in the building industry. Now, unlike the materials we had studied till date, that means in the previous modules we had brick, stone, wood, precast items, glass, and there everywhere we understood that we had to make the item and then use it for the purpose. We had concrete also. So, everywhere one was giving you some advantage, disadvantage, and mostly they were compressive members other than the wood, which was wood as well as bamboo, which was also useful in taking tension. We had also discussed as reinforcement bars when we discussed concrete, which mostly referred to the reinforcement inside the concrete, and that was as a discussion it came into the conversation. So, we will look into ferrous metals as well as non-ferrous metals only which we are concerned in the building industry. If we look into the content, we have the introduction to metals, metal properties. Many of you may be knowing these, but we will try to again recapitulate that so that we can understand how it is useful in the building industry. We have the ferrous and non-ferrous metals, and we will try to compare them to some extent considering their use, etc. Considering the periodic table, we have 91 metals with all the elements over there. So, we are not going to have all 91 metals for us, but property wise they usually, or to identify them, it is easy to say they have a lustre, that means they have a brightness. They make some sound when you actually strike to pieces, so, or if it falls you can get such sound, which we, if you can remember or recollect, we discussed when we discussed brick. Ringing two first class bricks makes a metallic sound. So, that was due to the right amount of iron in it. Now, it is most of the metals, almost all are solid at room temperature apart from mercury. So, we can get the item ready for use. So, it is solid form, so you can use it directly. It is not like concrete which you need to give some time to set. So, when you use metals, you get it in its solid form. It is opaque in nature, unlike glass, which was the only material which was transparent or translucent to some extent. We have this material also similar to brick, concrete, wood, etc. It is also opaque in nature. So, light cannot pass through it, and it has high melting point. So, with these few words, let us come to, in building industry, what are the metals we find the application of. So, we have under the ferrous metals, we have cast iron, wrought iron and steel, though there are other types of classification of ferrous metals, say alpha, beta, gamma, delta iron. We are going into the cast iron and the wrought iron form, which is mostly divided considering the iron content. Why we are looking into this from this direction? Because these actually take care of the brittleness or the hardness or the ductility of the metal. So, cast iron and wrought iron, when we go into details, we will know them considering their contents or the ingredients which form it. Other than that, we have steel, which is extensively used in building industry, particularly the structural elements, and that is the use of steel in our or ferrous metals in our particular trade. Coming to the non-ferrous metals, we have aluminium, then copper, zinc, tin, lead. Now, obviously copper, when alloyed with zinc or tin, you will get brass or bronze. Brass and bronze are applied. We have special application of lead, though earlier lead was much used in the building industry as the base for paints, but it has been found over time that it is not healthy to the habitants inside the building. So, lead is gradually taken out from the list of metals and it is being replaced by other metal oxides. So, we find most of the use is as the non-ferrous is aluminium, which is not comparable to that of steel as a structural element, though we have some examples, but itself it gives helps in making a framework. It is soft and we have plenty of use of aluminium, mostly it has replaced wood. We will go into further details when we come to each of them. Copper again used with tin or zinc and tin to get brass and bronze, which are again some prestigious metals. Even copper itself is a prestigious building material, prestigious metal used as a building material. So, we will come to them individually when we discuss them. Now, let us try to go through the basic properties of metals. Most of the metals have high density. High density means it is high in weight and less porous, it is almost non-porous. So, we do not refer to some bulk density, rather we report the density of the material. Weather resistant. Weather resistant refers to how much it can take the extremities of the climate, of which water, wind and temperature are the three. Now, as you all know, metals are good conductors of heat. So, under strong temperatures, or that is summer temperature, high degrees and high summer temperature, metal itself cannot be the answer for a building envelope. That means the work which brick does, if it is done by a sheet of metal, it will conduct the heat inside. So, it will affect the thermal condition of the inside of the structure if a entire thing is made of metal. So, metal is mostly used as a structural element rather than as an infill element. Maybe you have all seen cycle stands, the top of which may be of some sheet metal sheet, which may be corrugated, which may be having corrugations like this, and it is a continuous sheet. So, this can go as a roofing of a temporary, this kind of sheet can go as a roofing of a temporary structure. Even if it is the roofing of a house, it is a temporary thing because you can always open it and you can reuse it. But remember, it is when used as a roofing of a house, it is exposed to the sun rays and it is trapping in lot of heat inside the house. So, if it is the solution, you must remember that it will trap in lot of heat. So, weather resistant from the point of the sun rays, it is not that effective. Weather resistant from the point of water or rain, let us think it is a steel structure which is subjected to rain every day. Maybe you have noticed the phenomena of rusting. It may get rusted if it is not properly treated. So, exposing a steel structure or a ferrous structure may lead to rusting when we are talking of weather resistant. So, the non-ferrous metals may be a better answer to that, or the other answer is you need to give some protection to a ferrous item, ferrous metal. No water permeability. Many a time we had talked of impermeable, water should not pass through, and that is why we used sealing. That is why we used mortar to join bricks, otherwise there should remain pores or gaps through which, or gaps between the bricks, to moisture to move in, water to move in. So, every time we had to prevent that. But if it is a steel structure, if it is a steel entire wall, no water will enter inside. Yes, it may get affected by water, but no water can come to the inside of the house. Coming to the next point, heat and electricity conductivity. So, yes, thermal conductivity we have already discussed. We are concerned with the solar, with the sunlight, sun rays. Other than that, if there is a case of fire, etc., heat would be conducted very fast. Coming to the next point is durability. If we consider a brick structure and a steel structure, or a RCC structure, reinforced concrete structure also, steel structure may be more durable. But yes, it has its negatives also, that is corrosion, etc., but with proper precaution we can see, or we can understand that steel structure would be, or any non-ferrous structure would also be more durable. It has high tensile compressive strength, it has it can take impact more than that of brick, stone, wood, concrete, even in bending also. It is hard, elastic, that means it comes back to the normal shape when even after application of force. So, deformation is not observed unless it is a huge amount of force. It is plastic. When it is in molten form, it can be molded and any kind of shape can be given. We will come to that when we get into individual items, individual metals. So, we can mold because it is plastic, free flowing when it is at a temperature, when it is in its liquid state. Ductility, this refers to how easily it can be drawn. If you remember, to get pieces of bamboo, pieces of wood, you had to go for proper carpentry, proper cutting to get long pieces, but here you can draw it into bars of any length. So, here when we also discussed of wood, wood is available of the piece of the log length, you can get the long length, but if you want to have a higher length, you had to do some carpentry or joinery to it, and then again further strengthen it with some straps, metal straps maybe. But in case of steel, in case of ferrous metals, even in case of non-ferrous metals, you can have lengths much longer than as compared to that of wood or timber. So, you can draw it or you can even roll it to get long lengths, and wire may be of enormous length. You can actually use it for electricity movement of electricity. So, the wiring system we can use, we use metals because it is a conductor of electricity. Stiffness, that is its resistance to deformation in response to an applied force. It is stiff, malleable, it can be formed in sheets as we had discussed with the metal plate. Yes, when we are making it into sheet and then we make it into corrugations, it becomes more stable, but yes, we can make malleable or we can make thin sheets. We can even change shape or forge it just by changing little temperature by bending using proper appliances or tools. So, you can get different shapes, different patterns out of metals, as out of ferrous as well as non-ferrous metals. So, if we move forward, metals are unlike whatever materials we have covered, they are present in ores in compound form. Metals are electropositive in nature, hence many of the metals are present in oxide forms, in forms of compounds wherefrom you have to extract it. So, extraction of metals from the ore forms the key point to get the metal in its pure form. So, first is for getting any metal we have to find the ore, mined, it has to be taken out. If you remember the stone quarry, the stone was taken out, but stone was itself after dressing available, but here the ore is having the metal inside it, mostly in its oxide form or in any other compound form like lead sulphide, cassiterite. So, you have different ores and there you have to actually reduce it to get the ore, get the metal out of it, and obviously you have to melt the entire ore, and as it is metal, it has high temperature, high melting point, it is energy intensive. You have to use or burn a lot of fuel to get the metal ore molten, and proper processing needs to be done. So, we will come to that when we go into each of them, and we will try to cover the salient points of getting the metal or extracting the metal from the ore. But once it is done, it has a long life and it is 100% reusable. So, the embodied energy, though it seems to be quite high present at its present form, but considering its age, like as how long it can be used, it becomes very negligible considering the life of a brick or that of other building materials. So, that is why only looking into the energy is may not be the right decision point, rather one should also look into the length of its life. Metals can be alloyed to give variations in properties. We can see aluminium added with other things, with other metals into it, gives it more strength, even retaining its property of lightweight, but it gains more of strength. Similarly, iron we can take care of its corrosion, of its negative property, which is corrosion. So, we will go into each of the metals when we will discuss it further. We can heat treat metals and get varying properties too. So, we have to keep these points in mind that whenever required, we will see some treatment is done and either it is alloyed or it is treated or it is heat treated, and then different properties are obtained, because we need different properties when it is being used for different purposes. Let us now look into some examples of metals used in building. First, use of metal as cast iron was in bridges, and we can see way back in 1781. Though use of metals are historic, we know Iron Age, Bronze Age, all those ages were there. But coming to structures, if we see, though it is not coming under the building domain, the first cast iron bridges were being made. The Crystal Palace in London, which has been burnt in fire, was in 1848, which was also a huge spanning structure where glass and steel together was exhibited. It was to hold exhibition, but later on this 1851 feet long and 128 feet high structure was destroyed in fire. Here you can see the picture of Statue of Liberty. I hope I do not need to show you. This is the Statue of Liberty, which is, you can see with your own eyes, it is greenish in color and it is made of copper. But what is the structure inside? It is made of iron, and iron, when got rusted, it was positioned in 1886, and on the river it was continuously getting corroded, and the structure, iron structure, is gradually being replaced by steel. But it is still there, 151 feet high, and it attracts a lot of tourists, international as well as national. Similar is the Eiffel Tower. What you see, it is a wrought iron structure, lattice structure, 1889 by Gustave Eiffel. The same Gustave Eiffel actually also made the structure of the Statue of Liberty, the steel structure inside, the iron structure inside, which was later covered by this copper veil. So, you can see copper is so malleable, it could be converted to a thin kind of coating or covering on top of the structure to give this kind of statue or a monument. Now, this wrought iron was used for making this entire Eiffel Tower, but later on when it is getting damaged at certain points, it is replaced with steel. Here at this corner you see another structure which is totally made of aluminium and copper alloy, which is called Duralumin, which is a 300 feet dome like structure which is in Washington. It is the US Botanical Garden Conservancy. So, these all are not steel structures, and we can always use different metals, and we can exhibit or show that yes, it can take lot of height, lot of span, and it can be used as a structural material in building. Now, coming to the comparison between the ferrous and non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metals possess high tensile strength compared to that of non-ferrous metals, and both are durable. This high tensile strength and high density of the ferrous metals gives it mostly its use as a structural support system in buildings, whereas this less dense lightweight material is mostly favorable for malleable structures or as a framework for any internal purposes, mostly aluminum. You can see this sheet made of aluminum which is malleable, whereas ferrous structures, this is the structural system entirely of steel. Ferrous metals can be oxidized and hence it experiences corrosion when exposed to weather. This is due to its high carbon content. So, if we can reduce the carbon content, if you take this red highlighted point, high carbon content. So, if we can reduce the carbon content, we can reduce the process of corrosion. Similarly, the non-ferrous metals oxidize but very slow, and hence they are sometimes used for coating ferrous substances, ferrous metals, like we galvanize with zinc, we galvanize iron with zinc. So, repeated exposure to water or the elements of nature, if it is so, we may select non-ferrous metals for the building material. Coming to cost, iron is lower in price or ferrous metals are lower in price, whereas non-ferrous metals are costlier, though the ores are abundantly available. Extraction is actually affecting the price. So, the way or the method of extraction is controlling the price, because ore wise we have large extents of iron as well as aluminum. If we consider one as the ferrous and the other as the majorly non-ferrous item. We have magnetic quality in ferrous metals which is not seen in non-ferrous metals, and that is why non-magnetic, being non-magnetic, it is used for electronic purposes, wiring appliances, etc. For magnetic quality, ferrous metals have particular uses only for electrical appliances. Coming to the embodied energy, you can see ferrous metals have much lower embodied energy. As I was discussing it with the point of price, you can see extraction of ferrous metals is easier, that makes it cheaper too. It is of the order of 20.1 megajoule per kg, whereas that of non-ferrous metals, where it is referring to only aluminum, it is 155 megajoule per kg, because as I told, aluminum is the mostly used non-ferrous metals. Yes, when we will be discussing the other metals, I will also give you the figures for the embodied energy of copper or zinc. Coefficient of thermal expansion of iron is 12 into 10 to the power minus 6 per degree centigrade at this is the reported value for 20 degree centigrade. Now, here you see another point is written very close to concrete. This thermal expansion value is very close to the thermal expansion value of concrete. Just compare it with the non-ferrous metals. Coefficient of thermal expansion of aluminum is 24 into 10 to the power minus 6 per degree centigrade at for copper, and for aluminum, and for copper it is 17 into 10 to the power minus 6 at 20 degree centigrade. So, why did I refer to the coefficient of thermal expansion of steel or ferrous metal versus that of concrete, because in concrete we embed steel or embed the iron rods or the reinforcement. So, if their thermal expansion behavior is not the same, due to thermal changes, internal cracks are going to happen. One will try to expand more, the other will expand little less, and that will create internal stresses. So, that is why we have concrete and steel together to give reinforced cement concrete where no other metals are used. If it would have been aluminium, you see concrete is having almost 10 into 10 to the power minus 6 as I told, and it is 24 into 10 to the power minus 6 at 20 degrees centigrade. So, if there is a change in temperature, the concrete will less increase, whereas the metal inside will try to increase more, creating a break internally inside the member will try to expand more, the other thing will expand less and try to stay in its position, and it will lead to internal cracks. So, we have to remember this point very well. Coming to codes and standards, for plain and reinforced cement concrete we refer to IS 456, for corrosion and protection of iron and steel from corrosion we refer to IS 8629, and you can read the other. So, these are the codes of practice for aluminium, then for steel structure design, for brass as hardware material we can refer to these codes. So, with all these we end today's introductory lecture, and we will move on to the ferrous metals in the next lecture of this module. Thank you.